Welcome back to another episode of Hammering Down. I'm your host, Kaylor Hodges, and I have a really special episode today. It's been a little bit since I've done an interview on here. My last interview was with Sadiq Balarabi, which, that was probably 3 months ago. So it's nice to get back on this. And I'm being joined by a very special guest. He is a guy who came his way from Georgia, then went to Wofford, and then went down to UCF where, you know, he had a wonderful, wonderful career before coming to us in Birmingham. And as of about an hour ago for us finding out as we record this, one of the newest members of the Chicago Fire, Jonny Dean. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Kaylor. How are you doing?
Doing all right, man. Look, me being the hard-hitting journalist I am, very serious. I have to ask the important questions first. Were UCF the real national champions in 2018?
Let's just put it this way: without us claiming a self-claiming national championship, you wouldn't see a Cincinnati in the playoffs. You wouldn't see a TCU really in the playoffs. In the future 12 field format that they're about to start with, that allows a fair opportunity. That way, you don't have a game like the Georgia TCU national championship, right? So I think without us self-proclaiming that, I think that actually it was mainly not necessarily claim the national champion, but more along the lines of like, hey, if a team can play, they're undefeated, give them your shot, right?
For sure. Did you go to the Jump House that year?
I did. So when I first transferred to UCF, they were not good at football.
They were
So
that was their winless season, right?
I think it was like the year after,
Okay.
year or two after. Like they had won a few games, but you could just walk up and just walk into the stadium and like leave. But by the second year, when Mackenzie Milton was there and they turned it around, dude, that place was bouncing.
Is it as scary as I've heard? Is it really about to fall apart any moment?
It sounds like it, but it's a great atmosphere. It really is. It's perfect because it's like a bowl shaped, and the crowds get electric, especially when they're doing well.
So in 2019, it was my first year at Alabama, and I was doing the whole marching band thing. We had a rehearsal down at UCF's band facility, and we were there pretty early in the morning, about 10 in the morning. And it was like 90 degrees, 100% humidity or something like that, and we were all dying, and all the people there were just like, "Oh, today's a good day. You got lucky." What was training like, dude? I mean, this sounds miserable.
uh, no, training's training, right? It's kind of one of those things that you love what you do, or you should, right?
Yeah.
um, if not, then anything in life, whatever you're gonna do, it's not gonna be fun. For me personally, I enjoy training. um, so it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I personally enjoy it.
So, you get drafted by Orlando City, 2nd round. The day we're taping this as well as the day of the NWSL draft. And kind of walk people through what is the actual draft process like? Because in MLS, there is a combine. It's kind of like a big scrimmage, but it's not like the NFL combine that gets put on ESPN or anything like that. What is the actual draft process like for MLS?
Right. So it's different for everyone, right? So like me personally, I've never been a highly touted recruit. You know, Growing up, I've always played, on really good teams, and then some, teams with people that are. But I was never, it was never really about me, because a lot of American soccer, growing up and into college, it's a lot about stats.
Yeah.
unless you actually do your homework. And soccer is probably the most misleading of all of them, right? When it comes to stats, it's not as simple as basketball or football, certain areas. So my draft process was a lot different. I wasn't really expected to get drafted. To be honest with you, I was actually playing golf with my buddies when it happened. Um, so no, it was awesome. It's definitely great to see your name called. But at the end of the day, it's not like football or baseball or basketball, where you're guaranteed something unless you're like a top 10 pick or you sign GA, right?
Right.
So you're going in there, working to earn a spot, which as a kid coming out of college, it's extremely hard. So it was a little different. Granted, I was grateful, that Orlando drafted me. It was a great experience, awesome opportunity. Um, nothing but great things to say there. But yeah, it was different. You know, and it's one of those things that everybody's journey is different. You know, um, either I've seen guys get drafted high and didn't stay in the league. I've seen people not even get drafted and now they're in the league. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that um, it's not the end all be all. If people are listening and their name doesn't get called, or they do get called, there's still a lot of work that has to go in between.
I gotta ask, you're out there golfing, whatever, and I'm assuming you get the phone call from Orlando or you get a call from your agent or some of the sort. What are the boys doing? Like, are they just being like, "Why aren't you getting on your phone right now?" Or is like, what are they doing?
They saw it on Twitter on the draft, and they started freaking out, and having a good time, and they started drinking a few libations and stuff in my honor for it. So they definitely freaked out.
So you're not on Twitter. You're not a really big Twitter person. Uh,
No,
so
no.
for I I'm so for you to basically find out via your friends via Twitter, right? That's just how it came about?
Yeah, basically, it just popped up, because once you get past a certain round, they just they have their picks, and and then you end up talking to someone. Obviously, end up getting a call very shortly after. Um, but just because they try to speed up the process after the first round, I think, that yeah. So that's how I found out. Now I got a call later and stuff, and it was good and talking to him, but yeah, I was out playing golf.
What's your handicap?
Oof. So I actually just played at Ross Bridge this last weekend. I'm probably about between 11 or 15.
It's not bad. It's respectable.
No, I'll take it. I mean, I play golf like 4 times a year. So,
I mean for 4 times a year, people would kill for that, so yeah.
no, definitely. My go to is anything under 90 is decent. I shot an 87 out there the other day. So I'll take it.
Alright. So, you kinda mentioned it, like, soccer specifically has really misleading stats, especially as a defender. I mean, one of your former teammates, Fanuel Kavita, I mean, if you look at his stats, he is statistically one of the worst center backs in the league, but we all know that's not true.
uh,
Like,
no, yeah, yeah, definitely. It's one of those things that you're gonna put Fanny on your team every day of the week, right? And it's my thing is stats are a great analytical tool, but it's not the be all end all either, right? You got to do the watch test from time to time. So
so, you said coming out of high school, you were not a very highly touted recruit, and you ended up going to Wofford, which is a really good school. They've produced a lot of talent, and then you move on to UCF and then make your way out to Birmingham. I mean, you were big into the cross country, right? Like, you ran cross country,
yeah, I
forever.
did track too. Um, Track was probably my favorite.
I mean,
Um,
That
Yeah,
seems obvious.
yeah, yeah. Fun fact: my great grandfather, he ran track at Georgia.
So I was
So
gonna ask you if you were a Georgia fan growing up, but I guess that answers that.
no, not really, honestly. I was actually an Alabama fan because my grandmother went to Alabama, and so my dad grew up an Alabama fan. My sister went there. You know, he went to all the games when Bear Bryant was coaching. So we kind of turned into an Alabama fan growing up. But then, really early, my cousin was the kicker for Clemson in 2002, 2005, and he was like the Lou Groza runner up, and when he was there, college kicker. So I was a big Clemson fan for the time he was there.
Not bad. So when you get here into Birmingham, you become the newcomer of the year and you became the fans' choice and you did become a major fan favorite. But one things that was so impressive to me is that this year you were the only outfield player to play every single minute. You were the only Iron Man for the outfield players. And you probably ran more than anybody else in the league as well, playing that, I mean, you weren't even like box to box. You were just touchline to touchline the entire game. How exhausted were you during the last game?
Um, you know, I was pretty exhausted. I mean, to an extent, right? I mean, there's some games where obviously if you're playing a back, and then you play 3 days later and you're traveling, it can take a toll on you. Um, that's one of the things that, I have my own strength coach and conditioning coach that I've had since UCF, and he's still my personal trainer to this day. Um, and then Dan on our team as well. I mean, they do a good job of making sure that we're still ready to go from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And obviously, you need fortune, you need luck to stay healthy all year, which I was blessed in that to happen. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things that it's something that I can provide for the team, and I try to do that every day.
When you're going through a season where, nobody wants to take time off, right? You would think anyway. No one wants to just be like, I'm coming out at the 60-minute, I'm done. Um, players want to play, especially when you're at your level. But being able to go the full, like, what is it, 3,240 or something like that? Uh, how big of an accomplishment is that for you?
No, I don't take it for granted. Being able to play. Um, because my junior and senior season at UCF, I got injured both years. So I take, real pride in being able to play when I'm
Yeah,
able to, right?
right.
And that's kind of one of those things. It's like I was saying, luck and fortune of not getting injured, or something small. If that's the case. But and a lot of it's into the little things, it's into the details, it's into the preparation, um, as much as possible. I mean, my season's actually easier than the preseason that I do in the off season. So it's one of those things that it's um, gear yourself up, and I'm fortunate to have people working with me, with my trainer, I've had since UCF. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, we call about any little thing. And also having Dan at Birmingham being great, working with us too, and he's a invaluable resource that he's really good for his job. And I don't know if there's really anyone else in the USL with the credentials that he has, the background that he has. So it's it's a culmination of several things, but it is one of those things that it's when you finish and you look back, it's you're just happy and grateful, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Dan, with Birmingham. Obviously, second game of the season, Freddie goes down with an unfortunate ACL, that it sucks, it is what it is, but then after that, you had a couple of hamstring things, a couple of calf things, which are just normal wear and tear. No major injuries, and obviously Jake's, lower body injury. Um, if I'm glad they worded it like that. But overall, just not a lot of big injuries along the way. I mean, is there anything, I guess, different that's happens here than maybe other places that keep people from getting as long-term injuries?
I would just say it's it's the attention to details. And as a professional athlete, it's I mean, it's every little thing, right? And and it's also comes to the individual, and whether you're putting in the work that you need to do, or if you want to be somewhere, then it's having that resource able to help you or guide you in what you should or shouldn't be doing. And I think with us is that's a clear indication. We have a lot of good pros on Birmingham, right? From the top down, they know what they need to do, and we kind of do it. That's not to say, oh, things aren't gonna get injured. Some things aren't gonna happen. You're not gonna be, but at the most of the time, I mean, if you're healthy just a little bit, that makes the difference in the world. And like I say, your best trait to young players, to people wanting to play sports, is your best trait is availability.
Yeah.
If you're
Well,
available, you're able to go. Um,
you know, I was gonna I was gonna mention, Jake getting injured because about a week later, you get your goal against Charleston and immediately ran over to go find his kit and hold it up and, gets right onto the camera, and it was a really, really cool moment. Was that something that you had just kinda planned personally, or was that something that the team was just like, "When we score, we're gonna shout out Jake a little bit?"
no, I think that was with me, honestly. It's kind of one of the things that I set in my mind. I told Justin, our team admin, I told him, I was like, make sure you and Ari, our equipment manager, I was like, make sure you have his jersey over there from when I score. Um, and I hadn't scored all season, right? So they're probably thinking, okay, yeah, yeah, whatever. So no, it was great to get the first goal, and also with Roof, because I mean his story in itself I mean is awesome. I mean he's a competitor, he's a warrior, and the timing was unfortunate after he
Yeah.
had been playing so well for a number of months. Finally getting to showcase his ability that we knew that he has, and then to get hit with that, that's kind of that's tough. Um, but he handled it awesome, and then he came back and he showed that he could get to that level again. And it's one of those things that I'm glad I was able to at least score and do it. And little things can go a long way, and I just wanted him to know that we were rooting for him and we were there with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked to Jake after the Phoenix game, and I told him, I was like, coming into the season, we didn't know what the future was, for Jake. We were just like, and he kinda played center back, he kinda played left back, but he really wasn't playing that much, and then this last year, he really just, fully blossoms into what I guess what we as fans who aren't at training, what we weren't seeing, he finally became what you guys were seeing all along, and it was a really cool moment for us as fans, and it really hurt to see him go down, but then goes back out there and starts playing towards the end of the season, and it's like he never even left. It was awesome to watch.
No, 100%. And he earned it too, and that's the thing. That's the best thing when you're sitting there and you see how many days, months, years he's been, and then just go out there and him to take his chance. It was awesome. And I'm super pumped with him because I'm pretty close with him as well. So it was one of those things that it was. I mean, he earned it. It's no surprise. So
I mean, be real with me here, rate the dreads.
uh, I thought the poster of him was cool. Other than
It
that,
was good.
I thought the poster was cool and it was worth it. But other than that, uh, I like the flow more.
The flow's good. Was that really Enzo's wife that did it?
Yeah, she did a really good job. Apparently, it took like hours.
Was I mean, maybe you don't know, but I gotta was she just offering this, or did he approach her and was like, "I want this"?
No, I think Enzo brought it up because when Enzo put his hair up once, and I think they kind of mentioned it, and then he was like, "All right, I'll do it," and they did it. Then he liked it, and then just kept going there.
I didn't recognize him at first because it was his first game back, and I was like, "Who is that?" And I saw the 13, I was like, "No way. There's no shot."
uh,
You know, kind of we're in this weird, phase right now because I'm sure that the contract for Chicago had been, signed for longer than an hour at this point, but it's, we're as fans are into this weird place of, like, reminiscing on this last era of your career, this Birmingham era. Have you had a chance to think about that, or are you already focusing on, the MLS preseason?
um, yeah, I haven't really focused too much, honestly, into that. I'm kind of focused on the preseason, right? So it's kind of one of those things that's I'm back to ground zero again, like I was 3 years ago. So it's people don't know who I am. They don't follow the league, really, and it's one of those things that you got to go out there and prove and show your worth. So kind of focusing up on that. You know, I don't see. I consider Birmingham a home away from home, so I'll definitely be back. That's why it's not necessarily like see you later, because I'll be around the off season and stuff like that. Um, just because my girlfriend's lives down there currently. So
Which, she does, pretty cool stuff as well, like, her, like, fashion design for the working woman's awesome.
yeah, no, it's crazy how good her product is and what she's building. It's actually really inspiring and crazy, to see and to watch, because she's doing that on the side of her real job right now. But I mean, it's awesome, and it's all about marketing and finding, just getting it out there because it's a solid product.
So, I guess, kind of, are you involved in that whatsoever? Do you ever give input or anything like that, or are you just kind of watching from afar?
I drop stuff off at the mail to ship out when people purchase. That's about as involved as I want to be, because
Fair.
I don't want to mess something up.
I mean, that's fair. I I wouldn't I wouldn't wanna screw up with whatever she has going on too, but I mean, yeah, I started following that page on Instagram, which was it was really fun. It's, Dawson I can't remember the last part of it. What is it on Instagram?
It's Dawson workwear, but built for her, and they just came out with beanies. And I just bought one, and they're awesome. So I'd highly recommend it.
I mean, if it wasn't, like, 65 degrees, I'd definitely go straight away to buy a beanie.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm a beanie person anyways over a hat. So I'd wear a beanie in 70 degrees over a hat probably.
Okay, this is, maybe controversial or not. I refuse to wear beanies with the palm on it.
Oh
I
no, this one doesn't have a palm. I know what you're saying. Birmingham has one. I think they have a palm on one of them.
Are you do you feel any way about it, or are you just, "I got a beanie and we go?"
I prefer not to have one,
Alright, fair.
but if it's cool enough design, it's like if if that's like the last thing they notice, then that's like then you can get away with it.
Fair enough. So, looking also, I mean, like I said, I mean, this is like kind of a weird, time for, I guess, also me as well doing this because until about an hour and a half ago, I didn't really know that all this was happening.
Yeah,
Super pumped for you, obviously.
I'm
Um,
glad you didn't cancel it.
no, no, I wouldn't do that at all. I told you I was super pumped for you, and when I wrote my, end of season, like, thank you to everybody, I mean, we were bummed for you when you didn't make it in Nashville, right? We were like, when we found out you were trialing there, we were incredibly bummed out, and so we're incredibly happy for you. But that does, lead to a question I wanted to ask you anyway. What's the trial what's it like being a trialist? Because I think for most people listening, they have no clue what that is like.
Yeah, it's different. Um, it's one of those things that you're going into an environment and you have no idea what you're getting into. You're you're there, so obviously they know about you, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. And then you have, X amount of time to try to prove yourself that you should be on a roster or you should be deserving of a spot. No, I mean it's I'm grateful for the opportunities that I have, or that I have had. Right, um, it's a lot more than people can say. So I'm very grateful for it. And like when I was with Nashville, they didn't treat me like a trialist, which was awesome. They had a bunch of good dudes, because it's one of those things that you're not really part of the group yet, at least,
Right.
you know. Um, but no, that it was warming, welcoming, inviting. But some places it can be completely different, right? You can be that lone wolf still, because at the end of the day, like when you're walking in, you're always wondering, if you miss a pass, oh man, does that, what they are they going to take into account the seven good things that I did before one, right? So there's just a lot of uncertainty, but for people who are going to trial or anything, just go be yourself. That's all you can do. And if they pick you up, they pick you up for you. If they don't, it's a great experience. You learned. It's a great environment wherever you might be, and it's just an opportunity to grow as a player. Um, so
One, really cool thing about when you were in Nashville, and I don't know how much you guys got to interact at all, but I mean, you were there at the same time, as Josh Bauer, who you spent this season with in Birmingham as well. So at least there was one familiar face when you walk in.
no, definitely, and that was cool too, to have him there. And I made friends with Danny Griffin, who was with Pittsburgh last year. He was on trial with me. You meet a lot of good players, through the process, and a lot of good people. Still some of the players that play on that team, I keep in contact with some, or congratulating each other on accomplishments or career lives. It's at the end of the day, we're people. And it's a yes, we're athletes, professional, but at the end of the day, we're people, and it's all about being a genuine human being. Um, which ultimately, if you do that, then when you go on these trials, it's cool to meet different people from different backgrounds and different places.
So, I mean, when you kind of mentioned it already, so this is you probably I think you've already kind of answered this. But when you're on trial somewhere, I mean, did you trial with Birmingham first or were you signed?
No, so I was signed. So
Okay.
so when I got let go by Orlando, Um, and when I got let go by them, I was driving home, and Connor had been keeping tabs on me for a while because he was with Pride
Mm.
when I was playing at UCF. So he had watched me. He had done his homework because because like I said, I wasn't a big commodity coming out of college. I wasn't you know all tournament, all league, things like that. That catches people's eyes. So I was driving home. He kind of called me, and I remember he was talking. He was like, "Hey, like we need to write back. I've seen you play. Is this something you'd be interested in?" One of the things is Tommy likes to have the guys come in first and trial when they're coming out. When they're coming out of college, we're young, right? To see if they can fit into a pro environment. So it was. So I was driving. And I remember I was talking with my agent and I was talking with him, and I was like, because Birmingham was close, and I was a month in a preseason with Orlando, and then was let go. So it was one of those things that was like tiring. Doing 2 days. And it was just like, man, I'm exhausted. Now I have to go on another trial. But it was one of the things that was like Birmingham was close. I was like, you know what, I'll just do that. It's 3.5 hours from home. So yeah, I ended up trialing with Birmingham first.
So when you sign, and it's a really your first game, well, official match. Yeah, it was in a weird season, obviously. COVID does COVID things. You didn't even get a first game in before it's all shut down. And then you get to play in the 3-0 win over Tim Howard's Memphis 901. Um, First, I mean, just being on the pitch with Tim Howard, um, wild experience, I'm sure, coming out of college, being on pitch with a legend like that, but also your first match is a derby match for the fans. What were you, like, kinda doing as just a brand new player here?
I, it's a great question. I just wanted to win. It was one of those things. Is I'm ultra competitive. You know, and it's one of those things. I just wanted to win, man. It was simple as that. It was like those games are ones that are like you know they're not must wins, but when you add a little bit of rivalry to it, it turns into like yeah. and
I
and and
mean,
that's for a while. Is we besides this last year, even then we would go to Memphis and we couldn't get a result from them. And
yeah.
that was probably the best win um, in the Derby match for me, is just winning there 4-2. And even though the score was closer, I mean we completely dominated.
Yeah. I mean, that was, I was able and I was, lucky enough to be able to go to that match, and, we were up 4-2, obviously, going to the end, and I wanted to be excited. I was sitting, there just taking videos, but all I could think about was the year prior, you know, and the complete, just admittedly fall apart that happened, and that stupid baseball field the year before. I mean, be able to be on the team to finally get the monkey off the back. How are you feeling, and how are the boys feeling after that?
No, we were pumped because we being there from 2 years before and prior. If you weren't really on that team that ended up losing 3-2 when the guy hit the bike and the header in the top corner, and that one stung a lot. But the year before, we lost to them. My buddy Cal scored a hat trick on us, and then we lost the number one seed after we started off. So there's a lot of things that I just didn't like playing there, and then to get that 4-2 win was like okay.
Uh, you know, Something that's really interesting about the Legion squad, and it's really what really impresses me, and it's something that Blake Gardner had mentioned before, and I never really thought about wording it this way, but it's the only way I ever describe it anymore, is that the USL is admittedly very incestuous in the sense that it likes to keep talent just floating around different teams. Like, people stay on a team for 1 year, and then they'll just hop over to another team, and everybody plays with everybody, but Birmingham seems to just keep talent unless they sell it on. And so a lot of the guys that were on that team this year were also there in 2020 and 2021. Um, Being able to keep a back line, the same exact back line from 2021 to 2022, but also just generally the same team, how does that help you guys?
No, I mean it's massive, right? And I think in any professional sport, it's into growing league. Like if you want to if you actually want to be competitive year after year after year after year, you gotta have a base, right? And that's with anything. That's with a business, right? You have to have a base, um, to then just adding layer after layer each year to make it better and better. And Jay and Tommy, they do it, and Kana, they do a fantastic job of bringing in quality players. Um, yes, I'm leaving, but no doubt in my mind that they're not going to bring in another quality player. Um, that's one thing that you can't. It's hard to argue is we do get talent
Yeah.
in Birmingham. Um, and that's what helps with you know obviously when you just not like you're restarting every year. So it's every year you're building off of that, and then you're starting, let's say 5-7 points ahead of a team that has to rebuild or has to get 10 new guys. So I think it's massive, and that it speaks to them that in the ownership and that they have a clear picture of we want to win. We'll sign people to multi-year deals, um, not just come in 1 year and then continue this. We'll see if they'll stay. See, it's they're committed, which is awesome.
Kind of looking now to the Chicago Fire, because, I mean, I guess the one good thing, I guess selfishly here is that, I'm gonna release this and now Chicago people are gonna be like, "Ooh, I've heard of this guy now, we signed him." Um, for people who are, I mean, obviously, Legion fans know your game, fast as can be, will play the whole time. You seem to be, have just as much energy at the end of the game as you do at the beginning. Great passing and stuff like that. But for Chicago fans that maybe are listening, I, how would you describe your own game?
Um, I mean, at the like I said earlier, I'm a competitor. I want to win, right? And that's ultimately what I want to do here is whatever role may be asked upon me this coming season to win and get them back into the playoffs, um, and to compete for championships. So me as a player is, I mean, this. I mean, whether I play 5, 10, 90, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 minutes, I'm gonna give you the best minute possible. With my all, and that's been my motto my whole life. Really is to give the best that I can, and to control the things that I can control. Um, and that's what I'm going to try to continue to do and build off that, and to give everything to the organization and them. Um, you know, Similar to what I did in Birmingham. Um, and if hopefully that it works out. And I just want to compete, and it's like I wanted to win a championship in Birmingham. We fell short of that multiple times when I thought we had the team to do it. And we still did, especially this past year as well. It's one of those things. But at the end of the day, just expect a guy that's going to come in, be humble, and try to do my job the best that I can.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to the most about the city of Chicago? Not even just like the playing, obviously, but just anything in the area that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm I'm definitely looking forward to going around downtown area, um, exploring. Because the last time I was here, I was in fifth grade. I took a family field or went with my family for vacation here. Actually, when they were filming the Transformers, so that was pretty cool. So no, I definitely want to tour the city a little bit and explore it. Just because being from Macon, South Georgia, south of Atlanta, this is it's a big city, so I kind of want to explore the downtown as much as possible, and maybe catch a Cubs game again.
So you're a Cubbies fan, not a Southside White Sox guy.
I I guess I'm leaning towards more the Cubs because they just got Dansby Swanson
I mean,
from
yeah.
Atlanta, so I'm a Braves fan, but yeah, I'm a Dansby. I like him a lot.
I've never been out to Wrigley. So when you were in 5th grade,
I
what was
think so.
that?
Don't quote me on that. I was young though.
Fair enough. Man, I so are you obviously did you go to you said you're a Braves fan, did you go to any of the playoff games at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Um, I mean, most of the time I stay busy traveling ourselves, so it's tough to. And then growing up as a kid, you know, the Braves Stadium was actually closer because it was on Georgia State bought it and took over it now. It was on the south side of Atlanta, but most of the time I was traveling, still traveling, playing soccer. So
So the general off season, I guess, is the normal basketball and football season. Are you going to be much of a Bulls or a Bears if fan going forward, or just kind of going to experience it?
no, I'll definitely go and experience it as much as possible. Right. That's the cool thing about with what we get to do is we travel a lot, so we get to see different things. Um, but no, I'll definitely go in and experience the Bulls for sure. I need to get a retro Devin Hester jersey.
Man, so I'm assuming here that you're also a Falcons guy.
um, somewhat
Okay.
until they play Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Ever
I mean,
ever
it's
since then, they have. Uh,
that's brutal, man. Uh,
I couldn't believe it. I was in college watching that happen.
yeah, I'm a Bengals fan, so I'm just used to the misery, and then this last year was fun until the end of the Super Bowl, and then it was just like, same old Bengals, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is. But, man, look, it was a blast, chatting with you. It's obviously, sad to see you go, but I'm so excited to see what you do in Chicago. Um, the people in that area, I can tell you straight up, like, you got a great one. People in Chicago listening, Johnny's a great guy and great player, but, like, we're all stoked for you. We may be sad, but we're happy for you, man.
No, okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's bittersweet, right? Because Birmingham has become my home the last 3 years. But I'm grateful for the opportunity and to have you guys support, Birmingham support, from ownership down to everybody. Jay, Tom, players, teammates, fans. It really means a lot. And it's a credit to the organization that they're continuing to build and the community that we have. It's awesome, and I appreciate y'all for the last 3 years as well. And I'll be watching every game I can.
I horrible podcast host by me. I always mean to ask about this. What do you like to do in your free time?
I like to hang out with my dog, go hiking, go for walks, things like that. Yeah, I'm a big I hang out with my dog a lot.
What kind of dog is it?
She's a German Shepherd.
Love that. Love that. So, yeah, I just wanted to say I know Roof's a big gamer, apparently plays a lot of chess too.
Yeah,
So
he
that
yeah
was
he's a chess guy.
did you ever go down there with them and try to go against them?
No, I didn't. He's a little ahead of me when it comes to that. But we used to play a lot when we lived at Inverness Cliffs. We would play. He definitely took number one.
Fair enough, man. Well, again, thank you so much for hopping on. I'm sure this has been a crazy few days for you. But we're looking forward to watching you and obviously don't be a stranger anytime you're around, man.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, guys. And thank you everybody for listening. First interview in a while, but hopefully some more on the way. But thank you all so much. And until next time, guys, keep hammering on.